Now, the next session actually is, in Sriram Raghavan's words, a zingy session. Okay, and it's now upon him to keep it zingy. This is, see, most people do understand that the most creatively powerful force in the filmmaking process is the original script. Okay. But the relationship which really makes it happen, the primary collaboration which makes a film happen is between a director and a script. Okay. Now the script is not in isolation, obviously, because once the director comes in, he also is, in one sense, co-author, in the sense that he has accepted the story or the script, but he's the one who's going to narrate it on the screen. So therefore, the collaboration between writer and director becomes really the key, according to me, to really the success of the film. All the people who are gathered here, who are writer directors and sort of specialist directors, do seem to understand that. So on that basic issue, on the basic level, we are on the same page. So this session is going to be a session between 3 writers and 4 directors, moderated by the zingy Sriram Raghavan. You asked for it, Sriram. 3 times in the mail he told me, where is the zing in this program? I said, well, it will be in your session. Now the point is that it will be a compact discussion, right? About for 45 minutes on the stage, there will be a dialogue moderated by Sriram between the writers and the directors. And after that, for 15 minutes, we intend to throw it open. And this Sriram will stick to, 45 plus 15. It's likely that certain tricky issues will get taken up. And not just in this. If you think this session is tricky, then the next one is writer-producer. And guess who is on the panel of writers there? It's Kamlesh Pandey. Okay, so he is in a mood. He is in a confrontationist, pugilistic mood right now. So I'd like Vipul and Rohan and Ram to be take account of Kamlesh's mood of today. Tricky issues will most certainly come up. Examples will come up. But the point is not to allow accusations and counter-accusations to fly, because then there is no understanding which is it. Okay, there are no below-the-belt hits here. It is not, we've not called the directors here to actually accuse them, or even far less the producers. It is a constructive relationship that we are aiming for, and all the way through. The director is not our adversary, the producer is not our enemy. We are their partners, we are their stakeholders. All we are asking for is that certain issues to get ironed out. Creative issues between writer-director and other material issues, professional issues between producer and writer. The stage has been set, you've gone through the model contract thing, you've been through 2 days of confabulation, so you have a certain wavelength at which you know that this conference has taken our awareness of writers' rights and also the creative lacuna, as we keep referring to. I mean, Abbas is going to be there, in the writer-producer session. You know the mood that Abbas is in? Okay. So we're all set for some 2 zingy sessions. Okay, now let me just invite the participants onto the stage. First, Sriram Raghavan, who doesn't need an introduction. So from the director's side, I'd like to call first Vipul Shah. He's a director and producer and co-writer. Okay, so that should be rich, Vipul. Then I'd like to call upon Sanjay Gadvi. Okay, he's given you blockbusters and he's also had his setbacks. So I think that also should be interesting to ask about these experiences. Interesting thing here is that Vipul is a writer-director. The third director that I'm calling on board is a writer-director. Sanjay is not a writer-director. Okay, so we will get a pure specialist director's point of view who doesn't really participate in co-writing and yet has expectations from the scriptwriter. I'd like to call upon third, Onir, who has given us the delightful Sorry Bhai and the sensitive My Brother Nikhil. Please welcome Onir. And we have a surprise guest here, okay, who has very graciously consented. I can't see him. He hasn't run off, has he? Rohan, where are you? Rohan Sippi, who has worked as a director with Sridhar Raghavan, who's also going to be on the panel, and right now is also a hands-on producer and also a creative producer in the sense that he involves himself in that. So he's going to be on both the sessions like Vipul. Ladies and gentlemen, please, Rohan Sippi, and thank you very much for agreeing. And from our own fraternity, I'd like to call upon Sridhar Raghavan. Sridhar Raghavan, the irrepressible Sridhar Raghavan, full of restless, creative energy, nervous energy. For you there are. Okay, thanks very much, Sridhar. Sridhar and Rohan have worked together on Bluff Masters. Sridhar and Sriram are working together on his next project, and Sridhar's worked with Rajkumar Santoshi on a dozen odd films. Sridhar, that was deliberate.
I'm listening.
Yeah. And I'd like to call my colleague and very good friend Ashwini Malik, who is not just a script writer but a script teacher also. So you get another perspective there. And he is a trained director. So effectively, he's the writer-director. He's the writer of Sorry Bhai, and he collaborated in Harpal. And now he's going off to write and direct his own film. The script is ready. It's beautiful, but he's now going to direct in the next couple of months. And last but not the least, the lady who gave us Rock On this time was Pubali Chaudhary. Pubali is a trained writer in the sense that she has been formally qualified at the Film and Television Institute, Film and Television Institute, and she right now also is a part-time faculty of screenwriting at Whistling Woods, close by, and she is a full-time writer. So I think we should have an interesting, zingy session. All yours, Sriram. Okay. 60 minutes and your time starts now.
You said that, I don't have a watch, so...
Yeah, I will remind you.
Cool. Okay, all this zing and all, I told him about the whole program, but anyway. Okay, I'll just start a little bit, whatever. I don't have 50 pages, but I've got a page, which I will try and talk instead of read. Okay, my film got released last year, 1 year back exactly, a little more than a year back, and the reason I'm sitting here is because I'm not shooting. And I'm not shooting because I don't have a script. And in the time I tried to write a script, Ridley Scott makes a movie and Ramu makes 4 movies. So the thing is, I mean, I do take time. I'm not a writer by choice. I'm a writer more by compulsion because often I don't get the kind of scripts I want to direct or something like that. And I'm actually a semi-writer because I take a lot of help from a lot of people. So, I mean, I do work with others, though, I mean, the broad slog sometimes I've done once or twice. I actually envy Hollywood directors because they have the system of agents, and a director who's made a couple of movies gets a lot of scripts which come to him, he reads, he chooses and so on. Whereas here we don't yet have the system, though I know there are a lot of people sitting here who have got bound scripts and so on. So I feel, on the one hand, I come across directors who say there are no good scripts, and I meet a lot of writers who say none of our scripts are getting read or accepted or whatever. So I think there are 2 things here. One is, I actually feel, I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm very harsh with a lot of writers because I actually feel there's a lot of bad writing, I do get a lot of scripts to read. Some I've read, some I've not read, but a lot of them are not really up to the mark. The people are into, and they do write it in final draft, and they are members of FWA, but after all that, what happens is, I mean, even if it's a bad idea or a bad script or a bad story, it's finally, however you package it, it's still going to be bad, So, I mean, I'm saying many of you there, because you're members of FWA, because you're sitting here, I mean, we are not writers still. I mean, we have to keep writing. The 10th, 11th film probably is the one which gets made, So, I mean, forget me saying it's bad, but I'm saying even when you write something, show it to people, find out whether people are liking it, narrate it to people, and really go through the process, because, I mean, none of us here is an expert, I think. We are all struggling with our own scripts, and we are going through, the same boat. I mean, for somebody it's a yacht, for somebody it's a boat or a canoe kind of thing. See, the point I'm saying is, as viewers, we spend about $200 on a movie, Now, why do we make that choice? We make that choice because there's something in that movie we want to see. Now, when we are writing or when we think of an idea, I mean, we have to ask ourselves that question, why would anybody else want to see this? And you have to check it out with your friends, with whatever. I mean, you must be having a core group of, either fellow writers or whatever, and check out whether the idea sustains enough, because you're going to work for 6 months, 1 year on it, spend another year maybe peddling it. So where you start from really it's all about, And so why would anyone want to see this movie is really the only question which, if you can answer it honestly to yourself and then work with passion, slog, whatever, you have a chance, It's easier said than done, of course. Like, I mean, yesterday, Nasreen was talking about Jabbar Patel's Umberta written by Tendulkar or vice versa kind of thing, But, I mean, that is the process. Like, she was also talking about Slumdog Millionaire, which was written by Vikas Swarup, made into as a novel, made into a script by Simon before, and then Danny Boyle comes in, and Danny Boyle adds his own thing, you know. Some of us here who are writer-directors have to do all three as one, you know, which is, it's very, very difficult, it takes time, and that's the reason why, I mean, our movies are, a lot of them are, we've been often accused, and rightly so, of, you know, whacking movies and doing DVDs and so on. See, there are some people who do that, I'm not justifying it, but I think for me, it's like this, if you, I mean, it's like if you, either you love climbing Mount Everest or you can be airdropped there, you know. I mean, the view is the same, but the experience is completely different. So, it's just that, you know, so. One more thing I feel, this whole thing of a film by, you know, I mean, when I read Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest, I'm cool with it because it's his 45th movie, you know, but, or when I read, you know, MKD Films, Asya Corporation, Manmohan Desai's Amar Akbar Anthony, I'm fine with it because I've seen terrific work from him, and somewhere there is a, you know, you want that name to be there, up there, you know. But a film by Raghu Jaitley or something is like, who the hell is he, you know? So, I mean, that a film is by too many people, actually. There are too many people who contribute to a film, and though I do, I mean, somebody was talking about the author theory yesterday, the auteur theory. I mean, I do think Hitchcock is an auteur or Chaplin, and I mean, a lot of Hitchcock, Chaplin, even in India, I mean, there would be Manmohan Desai. If Mr. Ghai was there, he's also got a certain stamp, which his movies have got, you know. But that comes through a lot of work in which what they do is they take whatever work they're doing, they try to give it something which is their persona, which we all try to do. Some of us do it better, some don't do it as well. The point is, it all starts with the script. And so since we have writers and directors here, I'll just shoot off some questions which we'll just ask each other and try and best to keep it as zingy as possible, as he says. I've got a lot of anecdotes in case we run short. I mean, we have too much time, but I don't think after yesterday's Abhijat's thing, I feel anecdotes, yeah, they are fun, but they don't make the point as well, you know. So I'll just start with the writers. I mean, I'm just going to ask questions, and let's just, you know, and there's not much time. Huh? Means if you're working with a director, what are the two qualities you look for in a director? The two main qualities.
Two things that I'm looking in a director. In an ideal situation, I think I'm looking at somebody with whom my sensibilities match, or, you know, my sensibility matches up to his. In an ideal situation, if not, at least a certain openness to let me work. Like, he probably has an idea or a concept, and he trusts me enough to nurture it in my way. And yes, I think I enjoy a certain freedom of working space and time. I think I'm looking for a little bit of faith from the director to let me have my first draft and then have him respond to it and then start the entire collaborative process once I have received the brief from him, in the case of the initial idea stemming from him.
So the two qualities would be openness and matching sensibilities.
Openness and, yeah, a freedom of space, I think, yeah.
Okay, I will come back to you. Ashwini.
See, the most important quality that I would look from a director would be respect for writing. You know, enough respect for writing to actually take the film to completion, to be inspired by it, and to stay, you know, to stay behind the director right through. Then the other quality would be for him to be capable of giving me feedback, for us to be able to raise the quality of the script. Can I do one more?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The third thing is, you know, this is more to do with the professional aspect of it. You know, I'm very bad at asking for money from the producer. So I'd like the director to, no, really, I really mean it, because asking for money maybe, you know what happens. You know, I just can't do it. And I mean, money is something we need. You know, the writers need it more than anyone else. You know, we say that, you know, the only good thing about being a writer today is that the recession doesn't affect you. Because, I mean, you're so badly paid in any case. So yeah, so these are the 7 qualities. First 2 and the last 5.
Cool. Sridhar, you can use this mic.
Yeah. Are you okay with more than 2 types, 5, 6, 7 things to like in a director? Meaning, okay, I'll see it very fast. Talent, passion and ability. Because I think ability is also pretty important. A guy can have a lot of passion and unfortunately it's like not going anywhere. And I like the idea of a guy who's like-minded to a certain extent, that you can think alike. And see, normally what I do is if I'm working with a director for the first time, I first try and check out what kind of stuff is he into. I mean, if he's into Steven Seagal and Van Damme and porn films, and I'm into, I mean, like, say like Vijay Anand and Manmohan Desai, then we're both screwed. So it's very hard to find a common ground kind of thing. So okay, sorry, my language. I'm holding the mic wrong.
Too close.
I'm not used to holding mics. They rarely give it to writers. The other thing is, yeah, you try and find a common ground between you and the director, and then it becomes like a battleground or whatever. I mean, you try and, fight the whole thing out. The other important thing is trying to make sure that you're giving the right script to the right director. I mean, I love Kieslowski. I love Naseeb. But if you give Kieslowski Naseeb, you're kind of, you're going to get a weird film, and I don't know where it goes. So you need to figure out, is this guy the right guy to do this particular film, and vice versa.
Yeah, no. I mean, now I'll just ask the directors what they look for in a writer, I mean, just to get the other's perspective, because I mean, all of us have our own, I'll tell you what I look for also. But let's start, Vipul. When you're working with somebody?
I think it can't be restricted to two qualities per se, but yeah, if I have to say only two, then I definitely look for fearlessness in the writer. He should not be scared of the director for sure. And I look for originality. So if I find these two, then I'm more than happy.
Sanjay.
I've been in the industry since 1989, and I realized as soon as I was an assistant on 2 films and I turned independent, that within 1 year I realized and I got to know that I'm not able to write. So I depend a lot on writers, besides producers and actors. So what I look for is first thing is competence, according to what I think would be competent. Dependability is really that I got to be able to depend on the writer for a lot, because a lot of times the director finds himself very alone. With actors and producers can become one team and everything else happens. So you find yourself very alone. So I got to be able to be dependable, depend on my writer. I want the writer to have a capacity and an inclination to work real hard. The last person I worked with was Shivani Patija, and I'd get an SMS from her at 3 o'clock in the morning, which I would get at 8 o'clock in the morning because my phone would be off. And I've cracked that thing that we were not able to crack. And that really gets me going too. And the last thing is that I want the writer to know that he or she is a filmmaker too. It's just not the director who's called a filmmaker or the producer. I think the writer is a filmmaker, if he's writing for film.
I guess it's something, someone who has a compelling idea, that ultimately they are the storytellers at the heart of the filmmaking thing. So someone who can really grab you with an idea, whether it's in 15 seconds or make 3 hours feel like 15 seconds, you're gripped from beginning to end. And I think personally for me, someone who you can just have a drink with and really chat about pretty much anything, that's very important, because you spend probably more time with a writer, especially at the inception stage. You go through a lot, really huge decisions you take, which affect the film that comes up at a very early stage, which the writer is really holding close to his heart. And I think that's the most important thing, to be able to really talk honestly and just call something crap when it is.
I think for me, what's most important is that we share a certain kind of social, political stand should be similar. It's very important for me that certain sharing of worldview, how we look at things. And the other thing that's important for me is I think I want to feel that he or she will make me see things that I don't see, something else, a different way of looking at things.
Vipul spoke about fearlessness. This actually is a very important quality, because a lot of writers are actually afraid of directors. I'll just give you a brief story about Jean-Claude Carrière. He used to work with Buñuel. Buñuel was a very respected filmmaker, and Carrière was very young. So Buñuel hired Carrière to write a film for him, and they were working on a script, and Carrière was completely smitten by him. He was completely, man, I'm working with God, So everything Buñuel would say, he would say, yes, wonderful idea, brilliant idea. After a few weeks, the producer of the film took Carrière out for dinner. And he said, I've come out, I brought you out for dinner here because Buñuel told me that sometimes you should say no. You know, otherwise the film just suffers and it just doesn't go anywhere. So we must learn to say no to directors and build the relationship from there.
I mean, what do I look for? I mean, all these things, of course, but also, in a writer, I look for a lot of slog, you know. I mean, obviously, I mean, there has to be somebody who matches sensibility, otherwise we wouldn't be talking in the first place. Somebody who can slog and somebody who's refuses to be easily satisfied, you know, because the reason I'm like working with him now, and sometimes we will work for 15 days on something and then say, this is not working, dump it, you know, and there may be almost the temptation of, you know, okay, let it go, you know, but I know I have to live with this for another year, you know, and probably after that it's going to be coming on TV some night and I'm going to be squirming, you know, so that thing of, you know, not being easily satisfied is something which I really look for, and that with speed. Like when I began working with Ramu, and he used to give me, he used to say, okay, let's do a film on this, you know, and he'll give me some vague idea which is a character kind of thing, and I'll say, oh great, sounds interesting. Let me come back to you. You know, he says, yeah. So suppose it's Friday, he'll say, so let's meet on Monday. You know, and he expects the first half. You know, now. I would have said 3 months, you know, and he told me 3 days. But what that 3 days gives me, which only, I mean, Ramu, there's a lot I learned from, I mean, there's Ramu and there's BP Singh, with whom I did television a little bit, from whom you learn, they're very passionate, and they also have their own viewpoints. And with Ramu, what happened is, so 3 days, so now I'm forced to sit and write, you know, for 3 days. Something and reach an interval. Now, because it's 3 days, I'm not expecting a great piece of work. I'm just trying to finish, and you know, in that a lot of ideas come. Maybe out of 20 scenes, maybe only 2 are going to be used, but at least you have made the first run, you know. I don't know, that was my Ramu experience, but which is really useful to me. So, I mean, the shorter the time you do it, and then of course, the film will take 6 months to write, but...
My phone will be off, and you know, I've cracked that thing that we were...
Okay, I'll just move on to, we've got quite a few questions, so I'll just move on to the next one. Next one is basically about the relationship between the writer and the director. I mean, of course, see, the obvious is, we don't have time to really spend on the obvious. The obvious is, of course, there'll be fights, there'll be tussles, there'll be all those things, there'll be, okay, this doesn't work, let's do this again, the budget doesn't permit a scene like this, so change this. All that, I mean, is all going to happen. But the writer's work essentially, in a sense, ends when the film is greenlit and it starts shooting. And that's where the other pressures come in, where the producer's pressure comes in. An actor may say something which, I don't like this scene. What happens then, you know? Because many of the people here, like Rohan, Vipul, Sanjay, have all worked with huge stars. You know, when I worked with Saif, he was not as big. And my second film was a newcomer, so I was protected in this sense. So I've not yet faced the big star kind of thing, but I'd love to know from them, is there any kind of, what happens vis-a-vis when, if a situation arises where your script is something, and you believe in it till somebody points out something else, or for whatever reason says, no, I don't think I can say this line, or I want to change this scene. I mean, I'm not looking for, you know, silly anecdotes or anything, but I'm just looking for something which, you know, how does one deal with it?
As a director, I don't think any actor really throws these kind of tantrums in today's time. These are all the stories, and I feel, again, it's the same thing as I expect my writers to be fearless, I have to be fearless with my actors. If I can't be, and if I succumb to certain pressures, then I'll come back and tell the producer and writer and everybody a story, which will be, arey, you know what, he threw a tantrum and I had to adjust. But that's really not the case. I've been lucky to work with some really big stars, and I don't think anybody tells you to change anything as long as they know that your conviction is there and they believe in you. The most important thing is that in our industry, what I have felt all the time is we are not ready to face the truth for whatever reason. If actor says, do you think that this scene is good? Many directors would say, you think it's not good? Let's think about it. I mean, that's not how you are supposed to work. And then that becomes a story. And when you come back and come out and you start spreading those stories. I was working with Salman right now. And I had heard terrible stories about Salman and his working attitude. And actually, I ended up finishing my schedule before time. And we come back home with a fantastic schedule. That's what I feel. And there's not been a single moment in the entire schedule where I felt, oh, now how am I going to deal with this? So I feel that lot of these stories are made up. Sometimes when I can't convince my actors, or if at last moment I have thought of something and I want to change a scene and I don't have the courage to tell the writer, then you know what, I have changed it just because I felt, I will create a story and I'll tell him. And most of the time writers are actually, after the script is given, most of the time they are not the part of the creative process. They are finally called to see the trial. So I think these are the relationships.
I just want to, but would you, suppose the writer wants to be on the set, would you like that, and would you?
Why not? If he has to. If he wants to be, I'll be more than happy that if he's around. But the fact is that I believe that in the industry, this is my personal assessment and I could be completely wrong, but this is what I felt, that there was an era of Salim Javed where no writer, no director was even allowed to change one word, and their name used to come on every poster, every publicity. Yeah. And they were ruling, and they gave some of the best commercial scripts that Indian cinema has seen in many years. But it changed, and it changed because it got into I would say a power tussle, and somehow directors and producers were able to crush the writing talent in this country.
No, because we keep hearing that, I don't know, I mean, like, maybe there are more stories which are exaggerated after they happened, kind of thing, where, this guy's punchline, I am taking, and, so on, which kind of may ruin the scene in a sense, or hence, in a ripple effect, ruin the movie,
I don't think any of the director here on this panel or in this campus right now will vouch for anything like this happening to him. I don't think this happens.
Cool, if it doesn't happen to anyone, we can move on to the next question. What I really want to know is, the writer's finished his job, and now, for either your own reasons or three people tell you that this second half is lousy, it's this thing, whatever, and there is a situation where there is literally you need to make a choice, That's what I'm interested in terms of how it positively can help us in whatever manner. So, of course, if there is no hassle, great. I mean, there's nothing to, we can just move on.
I was an assistant with a very talented, hardworking man called Mr. Anand Balani. And when we used to sit outside the set and be talking about how actors sometimes suggest changes or whatever, he used to get very upset and angry about it. And I think it's because of the schooling that he had with Mr. Manjul Sinha was here, that हम लोग राइटर और मैं बैठे थे 2 साल से, हम लोग क्या बीप बीप है क्या? हम 2 साल बैठे हैं स्क्रिप्ट पे, हम लोग ने मेहनत किया, आप सेट पे आके बोल रहे हो. In the earlier part of my career, I would have been pretty blunt about it. What the director has to do is to be very tactful and diplomatic, and still stand by, because I think he spoke about faith, that no, I'm the director, the writer has written for me, I've approved of his script and rejected his script, but at the end of the day, that writer is putting faith in you.
Absolutely.
That you will translate this. The easiest thing, Salim uncle, Salman's dad used to say when I was an assistant on Patthar Ki Phool, कि क्या होता है ना, ज़्यादातर जब पिक्चर देखते हैं तो राइटर बोलता है कि जैसे लिखी थी वैसे बनाई नहीं, which is very easily said by a writer also, if anything goes wrong, it's not written the way I wrote it. So the faith that the writers put in you has to be lived up, and you got to stand up for that, That's because that's when they're a team then.
Right, yeah.
So now I diplomatically sidestep the changes. Let me think about what you're saying. No, I think that is better. Unless it's a word or two, because the spoken word.
I'm not talking about word or two and basic things.
Spoken word is difficult. Sometimes actors find it difficult.
Since you don't write, do you want your writer to be there on the set? Do you? I'm saying.
I wanted to answer that question actually. I wouldn't be as open as Vipul. Okay, because unless the writer has had at least, and I formed this answer as I was thinking now, the writer has had at least 5 or 6 films that he or she has written, which have released, and so that he or she has seen what happens to his or her written word. So without that knowledge, if a writer's writing her first film, or second, and the ones that's been written earlier is not released yet, then that writer on the set might just not be helping in the productive process.
Is it like something like, that you're shooting a scene and the monitor, the writer is saying, "Ye to pura gadbad ho raha hai," no?
No, because everyone comes to see the take, and soon then the writer's whispering, but this is not the way I'd written it. But now you've got to allow the director to put in his creativity. The director allows the actor to to work out those dialogue, to work out, otherwise the actor is going to say, you're right, now you tell me exactly how to do it, I'll imitate you. The next thing the actor is going to tell you is that. So you're giving the actor a little bit of freedom. You know, the producer is giving the director the freedom. The director is giving the actor the freedom. I'm giving my background music guy the freedom. So everyone's got to do that. So an inexperienced writer might just come in the way of finishing your shift at 6 o'clock. It might become a 1.5 shift.
Okay, but would you want to be on the set?
I don't know. I've been through situations where, I got what he said about inexperienced writers reacting in a certain way. But I've been on sets where literally between the process, see, you write 8-10 drafts, 12 drafts. So even if you're an inexperienced writer, by the time you finish the 12th draft and the director says, I'm going to go to shoot, I assume he likes what he's shooting. You know, you spent 1.5 years, 2 years on it. And I've been on, I've gone to the set if the director needs me. I don't go if the director doesn't want me. I have found sometimes that some total sea change is happening. And I don't understand when it happened, how it happened. And it's happened. And there's one thing which, I won't get into names because I think that's really funny.
It's not about names in any case.
Yeah. Among the first things that I was working on, I had gone to the shoot and the action guy, the fight master, he came rushing across this ground and he called out Siri. I hate being called Siri. Came running across and grabbed hold of me and said, I've solved your second half. I said, what? I said, what was the problem? And he was really happy. He said, I've solved it completely for you. And I said, what's the problem? And I went and asked, and everybody, it was like, that funeral scene in Sholay, where everybody's quiet, they're not really saying anything to you. I'm wondering, what happened? And eventually I got to know the entire second half has changed, which I don't have an issue with. If creatively at the last minute somebody came up with a different idea, but the entire second half changing is like a huge kind of decision.
I think he must have turned writer now.
Sorry?
The action director must have turned writer now.
Yeah. So, I'm taking more than a minute. When I discussed it with the director at that particular point of view, he said he was watching me and the guy argue. Then I asked him, what's your take? Because you're the director. He said, no, I'm like a referee over here. I'm checking out. I said, he's 150 kilos. I'm like, I used to be skinny then. I said, he'll maul me. So I left the set, and I never met the guy again. But this happened now. I don't know. Maybe they didn't tell me because the poor inexperienced guy is like an idiot, and I think the guy just lost control of what was happening, and maybe he didn't realize it at that point. Anyway.
There's a mic then. Rohan, what do you feel? You're right on the set and these chaos?
I think whether on the set or not, but I think the amount of thinking time you put in by the time you're shooting, that's the last time you get to see a big picture of the film. After that, filmmaking becomes so fragmented, it's very easy to just be swayed at one point. At which point you have to always come back to the script and those intentions, because then you go back to the edit and you say, why did I do it this way? There's much more chance of doing that. At that point, I think really a huge part of your job as director is to manage the actor if that's the situation, or it's the fight master. Find a diplomatic way to do it, but you really have to stay as true. And yeah, if it comes down to that real showdown thing, I've not had that situation yet, but I think you have to stand by that, because otherwise, like Vipul said, it just keeps going from there, and then you've lost the film at that point. It's easier said than done, I think, but I think all you have is that, and then I think a lot of it is psychology. You have to use that as much as framing your shot on set, is to figure out how to bring it around, either by saying we'll do it both ways. Okay, let's try this and that. If it's a relatively, say, okay, because we like your suggestion, you want to do this, but we also should take this for safety. Whatever the kind of
diplomatic tact, whatever.
But that's really the art of, I think, directing, as much as the technical side is being able to get all the personnel on board to stay as true to the writing, because it's obvious that if you've got that script in your hand, you've all agreed on it. At least the writer, director, producer at that point have agreed to make this film. Yeah. That's the only way to stay true to that. Otherwise, you had C, then you might as well throw that away and do something else.
You said about the film becomes a very fragmented process there. Now, this again is something which, I would like to, and please, I'm not going to pass the mic around. Please, anybody who wants to say something, just take it and talk, because it looks like I'm the, teacher, which is not the right thing. So, about fragmenting, what I'm saying, see, two things I want to ask. One, I want to find out from the writers, a film is, in Hindi movies there's music, there's action, there are a lot of things which, other departments take over, Now you take a film like Guide. Guide is written by R.K. Narayan, it's a novel, and he was not very happy with the final film, which, anyway, I love that film, and I love the novel also. But if you remove the songs from Guide, the story will just collapse, because the 7 songs are they're actually scenes, which are what Vinay Shukla was saying yesterday, how it the passage of time or whatever, Piya Tosi tells you from her first rehearsal to she's a big star. So Shailendra has done as much work on the script of that particular film and S.D. Burman and Vijayanand as, of course, Vijayanand was the writer there himself. So when we're talking about movies, our movies especially, which are like, kind of there's so much in it, they're packed, they're not like genre films really, because a foreign film has a neat one storyline kind of thing. But as a writer, do the writers describe the action, give song references and give song content and perhaps visuals also, or do you kind of leave it there? And of course, a director, I wish Mr. Ghai was here because, what he's done with Curse, it's a musical. Even though we'll come to whatever inspiration and all that later, but I'm saying what the other movie was is completely, this is the better movie actually, So how do we really, and two things, the writer, do they do all this? And from the director, do you feel, okay, sometimes people tell me, Acha, this is the film, but actually 40% is done by the action guy, 30% is the music, the choreographer has done it. And the director has probably just handled one, the drama scenes or whatever, So is it like that, or is it, of course, we'd all like to think of ourselves as directors who are in control and who are, at every stage we are there and we are really leading it on and not letting it take over. Maybe it happens in certain movies.
No, I think it definitely happens, but that's, I think you have to, and there is maybe a genuine thing that I think because those technicians are maybe just so geared to working in a certain way that they just, but it's your job to bring them back. Like I'll give a small example, it's not a huge thing, but like on Chandni Chowk to China, we were shooting the title song with Akshay, and we were shooting in China, and he was in this Forbidden City, Ancient, and suddenly he was without his look, which is a mustache like this and a thing, and I suddenly said, hey, that's Akshay, that's not Sidhu the character. You're killing the film by just, and the choreographer said, no, but he looks nice like this. Yeah, he looks great. You can see him in Filmfare, you can see him on TV as Akshay Kumar, but let him stay in character for the film. So that's something you have to be on top of or whatever, and stay as true. That is my opinion of how it should have been done, and it was the right opinion. But I think, that is your job as producer, as director, when you're working with so much specialization happening, is to keep coming back to telling the story through each of those technicians.
Just to slightly rewind, the fact is that, as you were talking about, action director comes and does his bit and blah, blah, blah. A complete script, which I would expect, will describe the song also, how it is, what is the lyrics that is expected in this situation, and how the action is going to go. And I think that job was for a very long time not done. And it was left to the imagination of the action director. And sometimes when I was shooting my first film, I felt that the way I was shooting my film and the way action was getting shot were two different films. So I think if we are talking about a script, it has to have complete detail of every, whether it is action, whether it is dance, whether it is song, everything. Unless until we start writing scripts of that kind, we really will not have a complete film. It will always have fragmentations. So I think that's very important. When you read, not to compare anything, but when you read a complete script with every description of action and song given, you know that the film is far more seamless than, and action happens, move on. So I think we also need to develop that level of understanding how to write action and songs into our script, because we have such a huge thing about songs and dance and everything.
I think for those who are writing here, the writers, the new ones I'm talking about, really you all should, watch Die Hard. It's an action movie, but the script of Die Hard would have everything written there, And likewise, I don't know, I want to ask Pupali about, okay, you did a musical. Were you involved in the music of the movie?
I was not involved with the music recording and that, but every scene which has a song in the film was written down in details, and often song reference. In fact, Abhishek had, my director had a list of songs that was referenced for his entire film. So we had song references, which were mostly English rock and roll songs, but just to give a reference of what kind of space and sound and feel we are looking at. And every visualization, whether it's a montage or whether it's the band playing, everything was written into the script.
Anybody, anything on this?
I feel like problem that we faced while working on Sorry Bhai, like the songs, Ashwini had written it into the script, and there were scenes in between the songs, and it was like a background treated, which was taking the film forward. And after we completed the film and we were showing it to the producers, there was this comment that the song is nice, but it comes for just 1.5 minutes. You want more, so why don't you take out the scene in between, put the song together, and then it's a nice song and it can be a hit song. And for a while we thought that maybe sometimes you're really closed and you're not looking at, maybe it works like that. And we tried it, it didn't work. And we told them, look, this is not working because it was written like that. It was meant to be the way it is. And you can't suddenly just shift it around. And then I get an email saying that, I think, because the film was, handed over, and it's like, we want this done, and I was told that Onir is being stubborn. And I just thought about it, and for me it was very important all through during the film. Also, this other thing I wanted to talk about is while making the film, there were constant changes happening. I was shooting in Mauritius, my writer Ashwini was here, and there was a lot of improvisations happening, which was not necessarily small. But for me, it was very, very important to call up Ashwini every time there was a change. Because sometimes as a director, you get carried away. There's so many things happening. Also, I'm the co-producer of the film. There's a lot of pressure happening. And sometimes you lose focus. And I feel comfortable when I talk to my writer, and I feel that, okay, it's okay to, because I'm tampering with his work. And after the film was edited, after we'd completed the Dolby, at one point, one of the senior actors felt that one very key scene should be just edited out of the film. Everything was perfect. If this scene is there, the film will flop. If this scene stays there, it's going to work. And that was like really a lot of pressure. Suddenly SMSs were going everywhere saying that please make Onir understand this scene has to be edited out. And for me, at one point I just felt confused. I said that, oh my God, this is too much of pressure because of my stubbornness, one scene and the film becomes a hit or a flop. It's just too much. And I spoke to Ashwini. I actually didn't speak to him because I thought, let me write to him. I sent him an email and saying that, what do you feel about it and about the scene? And he told me that for him, the whole script, the turning point of the script depended on this scene. It's justified because of that scene. And that was the point when I sent an email to all my actors. Everybody related saying that, I'm sorry, this is how I feel and my writer feels, and we are not going to take it out. And that's how it stays.
With regards to a film like Dhoom, which is both of them, 1 and 2, are very difficult to make, the physicality but I'd like to go on record saying that when the basic concept was developed by Adi and me and Adi and I, and then Victor was brought in to write the screenplay and the dialogue. When the script was ready, we had most of the action sequences worked out however we could write them. We need this kind of... Then the entire script is narrated to Alan, the action director, and Victor's there, the writer's there, I'm there. Then I narrate it to him again, and then we work on the action sequences. And I think about 75% of the meetings, the brainstorming that I had with Alan Victor was present there. So it's all, and then if Alan is saying, no, but this part is going to change the story, so okay, wait, then we'll put a pause on that, go back, Victor and I sit, we rework, then we get it approved by Adi, then that's okay, then we go back to Alan and say, okay, now we rework this for you, now you can put in that punch, but you can't put in that one. Right. So by the time the script is entirely ready, which is the only way I work, and I've worked on 3 films at Yashraj, and everyone ought to work that way, that the entire script is more or less put on paper, and the storyboarding can be done of action sequences. The writer is involved. That's what I like, the faith bit and the transparency that I was talking about. So that is a must. So and there's a good point of yours that writers who are aspiring writers at the beginning of their careers must try to bring in all those aspects as much as they can. If they get a chance to work with a director who's done some work before, he will be the guiding force in working out song situations from it. They're all created there.
See, what is coming out of the discussion is, most important point is that director do involve writer in the entire creative process, and they do feel that they are the partners, which is, I think, the most important point of this discussion. It's not like earlier times when the scripts were written on sets and something was happening, nobody knew where it's going. whether it's Onir or whether it is Sanjay or whether it's me or anybody. We do involve writers in the entire process. And I think that makes the responsibility of the writer far more greater. Because, earlier if you gave a script and then you saw the print, well, you can't be blamed or you can't be held responsible. But here now, if you are the partner in the process, then I think the responsibility of the writer is that much more. And I think if that is the message that is going right now from every director here and everybody sitting here, I think that's the biggest positive change that I'm seeing in the industry at this point of time, that writers are becoming partners in the process of making the film. So I think that's the best part about it.
This process, like when me and the writer of my first film, it was also her first script. And sometimes we used to discuss, and the discussion used to become an argument and kind of thing. People outside the room actually thought we were fighting about something, I mean, it's like, it's like, kya ho gaya, kind of a thing. And there is all that sulking, but how is the process? I mean, is it a very polite process, or is it like,
No, never. Anjum may sound like a polite man on this dais, but I have worked with him, he's not. And my first writer, Atish, who is of course my friend, so we used to fight and almost make our families feel, or anybody who was sitting with us feel, that this is the last day we are talking to each other.
Yeah.
And next morning we used to be back. And that's why I said it's very important for the writer to be fearless. And I've experienced, or I've worked with all the writers who have been pretty fearless with me. And I've enjoyed working with them because I always know that whatever they are saying, they are 100% convinced. So whether I accept or reject, but their conviction is undoubted.
I wish Mr. Ghai was here, because I would have loved to ask him this, because what happens sometimes, if I'm a new writer and I'm working with such a, kind of a person I'm in awe of because of his earlier work and all that, like, I may not be able to tell him, this is nonsense, this stinks, this doesn't work, this is dated, whatever. I may not be able to tell him that, and because, sometimes without taking names, I feel there are some directors who, the bigger they get in India, at least I feel, the films start getting worse, I don't know why, except Raj Kapoor and few people who really till the last made terrific stuff. But I feel it's because you insulate yourself from criticism, or people don't dare tell you that this is not working, And somewhere around you everybody is saying it's, I'm not talking about the wah-wah, that is I think gone. But but in a way it's also that key.
Now it happens in English. That's
yes, yeah. So
I would, if I was a young aspiring writer, and if I came across a director whom I'm not being able to sing, then I'd really reevaluate and say that then if I'm not finding the courage to say what I want, and I'm also in awe, and I'm thinking that everything that this person is doing is right, then I'd listen to what Abbas said and say no to myself, that I don't want to do this. And the onus is on the director actually. So what I do is, if I'm working with a new writer who has promise and who seems talented and willing to give the person a chance to demonstrate, because everyone's just looking for that time, that listen to me for half an hour, I'm damn talented. So I give that time, because I see that I've been on the other side of the desk when I should say, give me time and I'll just prove it to you that I can make a film. So it's the onus is on the senior person, the experienced filmmaker, to let that writer know that, listen, feel free to tell me whatever you think.
No, the onus
because
would be
the minute I'm taking you on as a writer, then actually there is no that I'm up and you're down, because the minute I'm taking you on as a writer, then you are my equal, absolutely. So the onus is on the director then, and I try to do that with any new people that I try to work with. A lot of them will vouch for it. A lot of them are here. And
you're not yet there,
yeah, but 200 crores, 150 crores. No.
I don't
with all due respect, okay, listen, I'm not there. I'm on my way up yet. But the minute you have a Dhoom behind you, that writer is thinking that, oh my God, how can I say anything to this person? Right.
Yeah, but I'd like to say something about this, that at the same time, I think screenwriters are very aware that it is finally a director's medium. It is okay for me to talk about my conviction, to say that I don't agree with this, I don't think this is working, I put across everything that I feel about it, but at the end of the day, it's not my baby alone. And I think us writers would agree that finally it is on the onus of the directors, it is the director's call.
No, I'll tell you, okay, what I want to say is, which I'm actually telling the new people, there will be somebody you love, respect, are in awe of, but be prepared to, I mean, like what he said, the onus is on the other person, on the director, but be prepared to state your point. Obviously, state it in a way which, try to communicate. If you find you can't, then I don't know, because no point just, okay, chalo, this is not working, but I'm still doing it.
It's one thing to put across your point, but do you think a writer's view will outweigh the director's
It's
point
not about
of view?
outweighing, it's about which works better. I mean, it's about convincing and so on.
Sure. But who decides that?
Obviously-
Finally, a
obviously
writer
That's
writes
how the
a
fights
script,
happen.
back
That's how
out
the
and
fights
say-
happen. That's how the people outside the room that think that they're coming to hands-on fight. When I was an assistant on a film called Patthar Ke Phool, Anand Balani was the director and Salim Khan was the writer, Salim Saab. And I used to see them arguing. And Anant used to say that, because he was from the film school in Pune, and he used to disagree with a lot of things that Salim Saab was saying, and he would say, and Salim Saab was open enough to say to him that, listen, we will keep on arguing, and either you can, his big ones, I remember most of the things that Salim Saab said, and says, either you convince me or I'll convince you, we'll go on till then.
Right, yeah.
It has to go on till then, because once the director or the senior person has accepted the lesser experienced person as an equal, the minute there is a writer-director team, because the world over it's supposed to be written and directed by, here what is happening actually is just splitting one into two. Okay? Written, I'm just saying, ideally, it's damn good written and directed by. It's perfect, because you're writing the shot and the scene and the dialogue and everything, like the way you do.
It's not like that the world over.
No. What I meant was just, it's not a sweeping statement, yeah, chill. I mean, we are adding the zing to it now. That's fine. This is the zing that they're looking for. What I'm saying that if you just try to listen to me, written and directed by is the ideal situation. Then there's no conflict, there's no fight, there's no nothing.
Okay.
And but you're trying to split this into two, so there is going to be a discussion and argument. But at the same time, they're equal then.
Now, I just want to make one point here, is that it's not about uski kameez meri kameez se safed kaise. It's not that. It's about the process. The decision sometimes can be taken by the director, sometimes can be by the writer, or a writer or a director can take an absolutely wrong decision. But the point is about the process. And if that process is allowed, we'll automatically see the quality of films improving straight away. Right now, on a certain level, that process is denied. That's changing. That's the good thing. I do agree with what she's saying, that it's finally the director's call in many, many situations. But I also know of cases where the director had to call Salim Javed and ask, sir, I want to change this one dialogue. And they, on the phone, they said, no, you can't. And the director had to shoot it. Simple. So those kind of things also happen in the field. But the most important part is the process. And it cannot be a dictatorship of any kind, whether it's a director or a producer or a writer. I think as long as we agree to the process, then at least we are talking about moving forward, which is the most important thing. To move forward from the situation that we are in today.
I really don't think that the written and directed by thing is
I'm
the
sorry, I'm really sorry.
No,
I apologize, I'll give it to you in writing.
No, I want to...
Got a card, Writers Association card.
Can I still address
Stamped.
it? I really don't think that it's the ideal situation. Okay, forget about him. He didn't say it, I'm saying it. It's not the ideal situation, even though I'm a writer and I want to direct. I think it makes a lot of sense for these two individuals to be separate individuals, because the best filmmakers have not really written their scripts. It gives the director objectivity. It gives the writer the freedom to do what he wants without being bogged down by all the extraneous aspects. So I think it's actually a very good idea for these two responsibilities to be completely separate. I don't know what you all do.
No, I mean, obviously...
I'm a living proof of that, All my films are written by someone else.
No, if you try to write and direct, it's going to take you 2.5, 3 years per movie, which is not worth it. I mean...
Maybe worth it.
Some people even 5,
Yeah, 5.
5.
Okay. I'm not going to get into a detailed thing on plagiarism and inspiration, because that's not really part of, that's a different debate. But I want to ask a writer a question. I mean, the writer, suppose I'm a director, I'm directing a movie and I'm saying, here, let's just take that Untouchables ka scene and put it. Rest of it is fine, but I like that scene where, this happens and that happens.
Scene from Battleship Potemkin, you mean?
Oh, no, I'm just saying any movie. Let's take this and do it. I'm not talking about one particular movie. I'm just saying, suppose I tell you, let's just take this scene, it's so good. How would you react normally? I'll start with Pupal. You're the freshest.
I would ask you, what is it about the scene that you're really looking for? What do you think about it makes, why would it work in your story? Because it's something placed in another scene.
No,
I would do
that thing actually
intelligent
works.
thieving.
If I tell you
I would do
bad girls-
intelligent thieving. I would try and see if I can take the gist of what you like about the scene and if I can see it, and try and see if I can retell it in a way where the inspiration from the original is not so direct. I don't think there is any original art really. Everything is inspired in some sense or the other. I am obviously drawing from things that I've seen, read, heard, observed, everything. So the idea is to make that connection as veiled as possible, not make it look directly, oh, that's the scene from Battleship Potemkin. But
Not Battleship, but it's
That was a tribute. That was a tribute.
I'm saying anything. But I think we all are going to say that. Is anybody going to say, I don't mind backing one scene, it's okay? No writers here is going to say that. So
I would ask you to do it yourself.
No, I'll tell you. One of my favorite quotes, which Tarantino's quote, and I genuinely believe in this quote, is "I steal from every film ever made." Now that's a deadly statement if you understand the statement. I mean, I actually wrote an article on this. People thought, hey, this guy is so honest. He's telling you all the things he stole. So they didn't get the point. Actually happened. So I wrote an article in Reader about Johnny Gadar, the 10 movies that I wish I could steal something from. And what I mean by stealing is stealing the spirit, the mood, the whatever, I don't know, all those words. That's really what you want to steal from every good movie. I mean, what's the point of movies? I mean, we've seen 100 years of movies and great movies. Obviously, something is going to trickle down and come. I'm talking about, my question was about a very obvious, take this and what...
I want to do it. If given a choice, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
but
I think-
as ground reality stand, it might not be in my hands. So it might still be on
Would
screen.
you like to add something on that, just to...
I'll have to. So, ideally, I try and figure out, okay, what did you particularly like about that scene? Can I try and do something like that? And I might not be good enough. I might do 10, 15 versions of a scene to replace that, and you might just say, but man, that is like totally working. And so I'd say, okay, have me a co-writer. You share credit with me, and it's completely cool. I mean, on my draft, I give you the draft the way I've done it with my bad scenes. And whatever you want to replace, it's cool. And if I feel, hey man, this is like too much, then okay, we'll share credit.
Okay, this is an aggressive writer here. Okay. I agree with him. I mean, then the ball comes in my court. Okay, I mean, itna mera 80% is men, so whack scenes are Sri Ram. Okay, something which is vaguely useful to them. I don't know. I mean, I hope they enjoyed this. But anybody was any vishesh tipni type of thing? Because I can't give, because I'm also struggling with my own script. I'll go back home and look at the page, So I have no tips to give you all except work hard. But okay, it's open for questions.
So it was a very fulfilling experience listening to all of you. The thing is, which I just want to make a small comment, is that हम लोगों की कहानी लोगों तक दिखाते हैं, तो जो राइटर और डायरेक्टर का जो कॉम्बिनेशन है, somewhere being a budding filmmaker, I myself feel that लाइफ की अंडरस्टैंडिंग अगर है राइटर्स को और डायरेक्टर को, एज इन द पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ लाइफ, समटाइम व्हेन यू रीड समथिंग, व्हेन यू सी समथिंग, दैट टुगेदर व्हेन इट जेल्स बिटवीन द राइटर एंड डायरेक्टर, दैट सेंसिबिलिटी, they are on the same path to create something which they feel about it, not see, but they feel. And somewhere that feel transcend to the audience as well. So somewhere when I have to make my film with the writer or director, that is what I feel.
And then,
so what I want to ask from you is, the question which I want to ask you is that when I'm asking the directors over here, that when you are looking for a writer, do you solely go on the basis of the past work, or how do you evaluate that you would like to work with that person? Is it the interaction, or it is just the previous 5-7 फिल्में किया इसलिए इसको बुला रहे हैं?
Both. If you've written a lot of films and the big hits, then of course it'll be easier for you to get an appointment. Otherwise, it's interaction. Yeah, you see how the person SMSs you. You see how the person, then if the SMS is done in a proper way, then you say, please call me right now, and then you speak to the person. Within 5 or 10 minutes, you can make out what it is, what's happening, and then you meet, and then you interact, and then you work together, and then you make a film.
For Owner and Ashwini, but it kind of a little broader than that. Owner, when a film is made, writing is one stage, okay? Something that we were discussing yesterday, the fact that a film in every way is written, okay? Every time you add something, you're putting in something that the director may or may not, the writer may or may not have conceived, yes? With your casting, with your treatments, with your everything, okay? And it is often said that editing is where the film is written the second time. Once it's put together, how does it matter what the writer feels? And I mean this with all due respect, Ashwini. You called him up and asked him, how does it matter what the writer feels he wanted to say? Once the film is on screen, the only thing that matters is what you see and whether something is coming across. The writer may be very passionate about a scene, but if it's not having the impact, the writer is not going to be there to make a footnote about this is why I wanted to make the movie. So why is it necessary that to the writer, it was crucial and that's the spirit of the movie, if it's not coming across to the audience, in which case at the editing stage, why not rewrite that scene out?
I'm not talking about when it's already on screen or complete. I'm talking about when, during the process of making, about why it's important. And secondly, I believe in, again, which I think Sriram pointed out right in the beginning, that it's never a film by Onir, it's directed by Onir. And for me, it's very important to have the creative interaction with my writer all through the process. Once it's out, it doesn't matter whether it works for me, works for him, it has to work for the audience.
Very simple.
Sorry?
Why won't you discuss
Because you don't have time. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Because I have this
or is it too big for you?
No, it's
or
not
is
big.
there
It's a very
consent?
important question. If you ask him, if we got half an hour, we'll talk.
Well, I thought that would be the first question to be addressed.
No, but it's a question which may not get an immediate. I mean, all of us would say, I guess in one voice, it's not a good thing, and it's not.
No, it's a very good thing. If it's required, it's good. You see my first film at Yashraj, it's called Mere Yaar Ki Shaadi Hai.
Excuse me.
It works. Because of Mere Yaar, I could make Dhoom. Because of that, I could make Dhoom 2. Because of that, I could make Kidnap, and I'm working.
There are different points of view. There is I mean, it takes time. Otherwise, I mean, in fact, I have that written down, but I didn't. So the only part of it I asked was.
It all depends at what stage you are in your life, how badly you want things to move on. And still at the same time, it's not a frame-to-frame copy, so it's like rewriting that one scene in a different way.
It just sounds like corruption is a global phenomenon.
Okay. Can I just answer that?
It's a personal choice.
One sec. No,
it's a personal choice.
No, I'm glad. I mean, I'm glad he said something which is different from what I thought. It's just fine, because if you ask, if you ask Mahesh, but he'll be able to convince you that it's a terrific thing, and he'll do it very well. And I kind of, when I listen to him, it vaguely makes sense, what the hell is that? And I can't even, but see, now it's again to each his own, so I feel, I mean, for me, a movie has to be an adventure, I have to discover something in it, and at the end of it, I mean, both the movies have not really made money, but I've had a ball, so I would not have the same ball if I had probably done something which I didn't really sweat and whatever, at 2 o'clock, this hair, why, So, abhi kya bolega? Two things, So, there is too many points of view on that, So, I had one line, it was a nice English line, which when I was doing the Rediff article, which I just ended it with, but I don't think many people read the article, so I'll say that line here. If I'm going in a local train, and I hear two people talking and I like one line somebody said, I can steal that line and put it in a movie, but nobody can inspire my wallet. So, my wallet in the train. No, you can't inspire it.
You can give the devil its due, but don't forget that it's the devil still.
As a director, when you write a script, how differently do you approach it? As in, like, directors usually don't like writers giving them instructions in the script. And when you're writing your own script, so how different is it from a script which you usually get?
Acha, if you give me a script which has got camera directions.
I'm asking you, as a director, how different is it that you approach a script compared to a normal script which a writer gives you?
See, I mean, if I'm reading your script and it's engaging me as I read it, then obviously, I mean, it's better. Like
He's asking about how you write.
How I write? I go through
with all
hell.
description.
No, I don't write too many descriptions because I believe in a lot in economy, and I really feel because a lot of things which I would add on later because I'm going to direct it myself, So I just need the point of the scene. Once I know the function of a scene and I know my characters, I actually don't ever believe in a bound script because I feel by binding the script, I'm actually closing my mind on that story, that subject, because I feel. Okay, you must have everything because the production will ask you, do you need a fire engine or do you need a whatever, So I need to be able to tell them that, but the function of the scene, once I know, I keep rewriting it till I'm actually shooting it, So
yeah, then you can travel in local train and find dialogues. That's not really an issue.
You're really scared about narrating the script. So as a writer, like how do you prepare for a narration? Not so much maybe for the director, but surely. I mean, this is like what Sanjay was saying. The SMS could be zingy enough.
No, I don't mean zingy, just proper. Just proper. I get SMSs without names.
So how does a writer, like a good script but badly read out or badly narrated and stuff like that?
I'll just add to that. There should be a test reading the writer if he or she is insisting. Then we let the writer read. He or she reads out to me first. Then we have some trial runs with someone else.
You let the writer's answer.
Yeah, but you know, you have a trial run, and then you see if the person is good enough, then it's good enough.
Okay. I think essentially, Vipul, maybe you could help us with this. What do you look for in the narration? What are you looking? If you're not reading the script, if a director is expecting a narration, what are you looking for in that narration?
Can I just answer that?
If the writer volunteers to narrate, I'll listen to that. And if the writer says that I'm not too comfortable narrating or reading out to you, could you read my script?
But a lot of directors don't. In which case, what does one?
Okay. I'll try and answer that because I couldn't speak Hindi. I used to stammer and all that, and I had to go narrate to Nana Patekar once, and I was like, terrified. So stuff like that. So anyway, what I'm saying is, you have to just keep doing it. Do it with your friends. Keep narrating and see. I hear a lot of boring narrations from people just because, the thoughts are cluttered or whatever. So some people can't narrate and maybe can never narrate. वो भी हो सकता है. No, but I'm saying if you want to narrate, just keep practicing it. You'll know. Try it with friends. Try it with friends first to see whether the script works at all before you go to a director who's probably giving you very little time and wants to see the spark.
Record it, and hear yourself. You'll be the best judge.
See, we've been talking for last 2 days. Various issues have been discussed, and today we talked about the contract of the writers, in which the writer is supposed to give a declaration that it is my original creation. And here we talk that stealing is right; it's personal choice. Should we put in the contract that in case the director,
Nobody said it's right.
No, it's been discussed that it's personal choice. Now what happens that sometimes the writer is asked to insert a scene from a certain film. Whose responsibility it is? Should it be written in the contract? That's in case there is a case, in case there is a claim, who is going to take the onus of it?
Ashni is gone away.
Yeah. This we'll talk later, because this is not really can't be answered here.
Ashni is gone away.
We'll talk about this later some other time.
A writer's and director's sensibilities have to match. And even the personalities, so that they can work on a better product. But in case the director likes your script, but the sensibilities are not matching enough, or you're not getting along.
Question पूछना जल्दी.
So how do you work it out? How do you work it out? Like,
if you like the script, but you're not sensibility.
Yeah, you're not gelling with the director, but he likes your script. So how would you resolve the problem?
Between two human beings, you'll find something that matches it. If you look hard enough and far enough, and that guy is looking at you hard enough and far enough, you'll say, "Chalo, yaar, this is our common ground."
So I just wanted to ask you, how much of freedom must be taken by a writer while adapting a piece of literature?
Adaptation is another long thing here. We can't answer in one and give you a formula. Adaptation के लिए वो सोचना पड़ेगा. There are a lot of books on adaptation and all that. So these questions, it looks like we are giving some very simple answers for these things. These are not simple. Read a book, see the movie, read the script, see about how it's been adapted. You'll get your answers yourself.
Are we talking about shooting scripts, or are we talking generally spec scripts? Are we talking about writers helping out with camera moves, like the director? Does the director have him on set write out scenes with camera moves? Or
No.
Okay, so we are not talking shooting scripts at all. So we are already talking like spec scripts. So the next part is like, are we talking about going into production with just a spec script?
A spec script is a full script.
But it doesn't.
It's just a script which has not been commissioned earlier. That's all. That's a spec script. Munni, you wanted to say something?
Which combination of writer and director of the past of Hindi cinema do you writers admire?
That's a superb question, because I'm also curious.
Salim Javed, Yash Chopra. Salim Javed, Yash Chopra.
Whoever Salim Javed worked with, they were like deadly combinations.
I want to ask very basic question.
Sorry, this question is not yet answered. Vinay Shukla is going to answer this, and sorry, that will be the last thing, because the next session is going to start very soon. I'm really sorry. It's
Gurudutt and Abrar Arbi.
Okay, thank you. Awesome.